One of my favorite snacks is jalapeno poppers. I can't get enough of them. And I just love everything about them. The heat of the jalapenos, you get the creaminess coming out of the cream cheese and the cheddar, you get the awesome smoky saltiness out of the bacon. What's not to love? So I thought today I'm going to make a jalapeno popper sourdough. So come along for the ride. So I'm just going to go ahead. I've got 3 nice big jalapenos here. I'm going to cut off the stems. I'm going to cut them in half here so I can pop the seeds out. I'm actually going to save those for my chickens. Just going to go like this. Scoop that out here. I'm just going to repeat. It's totally fine if I leave a little bit of that pulp in there and some of those seeds, because a little heat is going to be fantastic here. I'm just going to do this with all 3 of them. And there we are. I gave them a little bit of a rough chop here. I also made sure to use my bare hands for this, so I'll get a little bit of that heat into the dough as I'm mixing it up. So the flour that I'm using here is just an unbleached all-purpose flour. I've got 500 grams of that, so that's going to be my base weight. Everything else that I'm doing here by percentage, that is a percentage of this. So you just multiply the 500 grams by the percentage that I say, and that'll give you your amount. That way you can scale this for any size of recipe. So I'm starting off with 375 grams of filtered water. So that is a 75% hydration. To that, I'm going to be adding 7 grams or 1.4%. This is just a pink sea salt. I like to get that in there right off the bat. Now I'm going to be putting in my flour, but I'm also going to add some of the ingredients here. So I'm going to be adding a bunch of, I just shredded this as a medium cheddar, and that is 125 grams or 25% of the weight. I'm going to be adding more cheese and all kinds of stuff to the actual dough during the lamination phase, but I want to make sure that this is distributed throughout. I've also got, this was a full package of bacon. It was a 375 gram package, but of course, after baking it in the oven, it went down to 100 grams. I've never done a post and pre-weight on bacon before cooking, and I'm very upset to find out how much I lost. I'm going to put about half of that in here, and the rest I'm going to save for the lamination. I'm going to take these jalapenos, which for the record came in at 175 grams. I'm going to put in just about half of them in here as well for this initial mixing. I'm just going to spend a minute or so here getting this all combined. All right, just as I'm mixing this here, I'm going to be adding some of the seasonings. So this is a heaping teaspoon each of paprika, onion powder, and garlic powder. Just sprinkle this in here too. Once this is all mixed up, I'm just going to cover this up with plastic and let it rest here for probably about 30 minutes to an hour, just depending on when my leaven is ready. After an hour, my leaven is ready. It's nice and pillowy here. And I'm going to be adding 125 grams or 25% by the weight of the flour there into here. All right, and now I'm just going to moisten my hands here with some filtered water, and I'm going to poke in here and then do some little pinch and folds and just incorporate this fully. Because the dough itself is kind of an orangey color, it's really easy to tell when everything's going to be mixed in here because you won't see any of that lighter colored leaven. So this will take a minute or two. All right, there we go, all mixed up. I'm just going to cover this up here again with plastic and give it about 30 minutes. After that 30 minutes, it is time for my first stretch and fold here. I'm just going to get this out. Ooh, it's a rather stiff dough. That's okay though. It's got all the bacon, all the jalapenos, the cheese in there. That's making it a bit stiffer, so I can't stretch it as much as I would be able to otherwise. However, I'm going to get this back in the bowl and cover it up for another 30 minutes. Whoop. After that 30 minutes, it is time for the lamination. So again, just moistening my hands with some filtered water here. I'm just going to plunk my dough out. And because I've got the jalapenos and the cheese and the bacon in here, it's not going to stretch out as thinly as it normally would if I was just using straight up dough. But the whole trick here is to try to stretch this out into a bit of a rectangular mat, which is not only fulfilling the purpose of stretching it out and helping strengthen the finished dough, but also giving me an opportunity to really layer in some of these extra fillings, if you will. So just get this all ready to rock. All right, So in addition to the rest of my jalapenos, the rest of my bacon, I'm going to be adding an extra 100 grams here of this medium cheddar cheese. I have this cubed, and that then works out to 20% extra of that. And then I've got some green onions or scallions here that I just diced up, and that's 20 grams here, so that would be 4%. And then I also have, at this point, it's 125 grams here, so that'd be 25% of this cream cheese. I might add more. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, I'm just going to be adding this medium cheddar to the middle third. Everything that I'm putting in now is just going to be to this middle third or so. A little strip like that. Let's get in some of this cream cheese here. When I make my jalapeno poppers, I like to have a ton of cream cheese, or rather when my daughter makes jalapeno poppers for us, I should probably say. She puts in a lot of cream cheese and a lot of cheese. There. Jalapenos. We're going to get some of this bacon. There's tons of awesome stuff here. And some of these green onions. I'm starting to realize that what I've done here is not so much creating a bread as making just a vehicle for bacon and peppers and cheese to get into my mouth. Which, I mean, I'm okay with that. Just going to give that a little love tap down, trying to get out any sort of little air pockets that might be in there. And now we're going to repeat. And fold. Actually, you know what? As it turns out, I don't need any extra cream cheese. I think that'll be just enough. Now I'm just going to get this back into the bowl and let it rest. After 30 minutes, I'm just going to pop this out and see what this dough is feeling like. I've got a suspicion I'm not going to be able to do much with it. Yeah, not really here. It is so full of stuff that manipulating this too much is not really going to work. So at this point, I'm really just going to take it and leave it in there and wait for it to bulk ferment until it looks like it's done. So I've given this dough a few hours here, and when I've got as much stuff in this bread as I do right now, it's kind of hard to use my little jiggle test to see exactly how done it is, but I have a feeling that this is fully fermented here. So I'm going to pop it out. Just going to dust my hands with a little flour here. I'm done with water for now. And I'm just going to get this a little pre-shaping. Wow, this really smells like jalapenos. I am very much excited about this. And I'm just going to leave this for a few minutes to make sure that the shape doesn't change too much. I'm going to have to reuse that. All right, perfect. Alrighty, after 5 minutes, just going to make sure my hands are nice and floured. Give this another little spin here. Yeah, it's the shape really is not changing at all. That's all good. I'm just going to dust the top here with some rice flour and get this into my banneton, which is likewise coated in rice flour, just to help prevent sticking. That really fills this up quite a bit. I'm going to get probably a little more rice flour just on here in case my plastic falls a little bit overnight. This is going to get covered up with plastic into the fridge, and it'll finish cold fermenting in there, and then tomorrow morning we will bake it. And the next morning, my cast iron combo cookers have been preheating at 500 degrees Fahrenheit for well over an hour. It is time to get this into the oven. So I'm just going to cover that with some parchment paper, use my little pizza peel, give it a flip. Lots of rice flour on there. I'm going to give this just a simple scoring pattern because I've got lots of that awesome filling ingredients in there, and it might be difficult to cut through it, although really getting through those didn't seem to be too much of a problem. I'm going to pop this in here and then cover it up with the lid. We're going to turn the temperature down to 440 degrees Fahrenheit and give it 35 minutes. Ooh, smells delicious in here. After that 35 minutes, I'm just going to leave that cover off and drop the temperature down to 430 and give it another 20-25. All right, after 25 minutes, this should be ready. Pop it out. Ooh. Set it down. Get it off of that parchment. It smells so amazing, but it is a requirement that we let it cool down. Okay, so taking a look at this, first of all, this is expected, this sad quantity of oven spring here, just because of the sheer amount of stuff inside this bread. All that cheese, the bacon, the jalapenos really prevents a bit of a rise, but what I'm hoping here is that the trade-off with the flavor is worth it. Let us slice in and find out, because I can't wait any longer. First of all, oh, smell. Oh, well, you can't smell that. I can smell it. It smells amazing. So much cheese going on in here. Okay, I gotta toast some of this up and taste it here. Got this toasted up here. I have my resident jalapeno popper making expert from the household here.
Yep.
Because we need to see what she thinks. So, it smells exactly like a jalapeno popper.
Yep.
Ooh. So creamy. All that cream cheese in there. The jalapeno, how spicy is it for you?
It's pretty good.
It's got some kick. It's got that bacon, the cheddar. Fantastic. So I think you could make one of these that has a little bit more spring, but that would be sacrificing the ingredients. I don't know. Maybe I'll play around with this a little bit more, see if I can find a bit more of a balance, but this is freaking delicious. What do you say?
I think we took it to 11.
Oh, there we go.